listening to session 12. And before we end this session, let's have a look at some of the clinical pointers. Yeah, the conditions that you will see quite commonly or more often in your clinic, and how to handle such patients. One of the first things that we'll be looking at is the premenstrual syndrome. Now, if you want to be actually pedantic, there is a difference between PMS and PMT, that is the premenstrual tension. Now, premenstrual tension is said to be more subjective, where it deals with the mental, emotional aspects of it. And PMS, or the premenstrual syndrome, is said to encompass all the physical symptoms. Okay, but in this lecture, I'm going to use, like we use it interchangeably, and I'm going to refer to PMS to include mental, physical, and emotional symptoms. Yeah. Now, one thing to remember is that not all women suffer from PMS. Okay, and PMS occurs only if ovulation has occurred. Now, we all know that hormones is the cause of PMS, but which hormone is responsible is not clear because of the range of symptoms that we see as PMS symptoms. So the PMS symptoms could be, mood swings, irritation, tearfulness, people crying more often, or it could be something more physical like bloated, abdomen swelling, breast swelling, or they could also have food cravings, or they might find that their appetite is increased, or they have a desire for more carbs, or a food craving at that time. Yeah, just PMS. So because of this wide range of symptoms, it's not clear as to which hormone is responsible for this, for the PMS. And it's so another important factor to remember in this is the timing of it. When does the patient actually say that they have? You might consider it as PMS. The patient may come and tell you, I've got PMS. But then it's very important to be very specific as to the time, because PMS are those symptoms that occur 2 weeks before menstruation, and those symptoms should decline on menstruation. If they have those symptoms during other periods, like just after their menstruation or before the ovulation, then maybe it's a pathological condition and nothing to do with PMS. Yeah, so timing is very important. So timing of PMS symptoms needs consideration as it helps in differentiating between PMS and functional disorders like hypoglycemia or depression. Now, one of the things with PMS that you can look into is also the diet of the patient. Dietary changes seem to improve PMS, like increase. So, see, some of the things that seem to improve PMS is increased intake of complex carbs, eating smaller meals more often, cutting down on salts, and also eating more plant estrogens like soy and linseed. Okay? So see which option, whether they really need a homeopathic medicine or maybe simple dietary changes will help them overcome their PMS. Now, coming on to the menstrual problems. Menorrhagia. Now, menorrhagia is heavy periods. Now, again, it's very difficult when we are dealing with menstruation because it's again subjective, because one person doesn't know how much the other person is bleeding, So when we talk about heavy periods, the patient might say, I have heavy periods. But is it really heavy? So you've got to be very specific in your case taking. So when you're talking about heavy periods, you've got to ask them, how long is it there for? So how many times, how much of blood, is there? So how many pads would you change? How long is the cycle? Because medically, menorrhagia is when the person has bleeding for more than 7 days and has got more than 80 ml in volume of blood is being, discharged, and the menstrual cycle is less than 21 days. And if this is the case, then the possible causation of this may be fibroids. It also could be endometriosis, or it could be pelvic inflammatory disease. Now coming on to dysmenorrhea or painful periods. In this, we've again got to take down an accurate case taking. When they talk about, I have pain in my abdomen, it's not sufficient to just write it down. You need to find out where is it extending to, or where does it start from, and where does it go? Yeah, do you also have any other concomitants along with the dysmenorrhea? And what makes it better or what makes it worse? And the type of pain. Is it cramping? Is it constant? And how severe is the pain? Always remember, in cases of heavy periods, check for, even in dysmenorrhea, menorrhagia, heavy periods, any one of these menstrual conditions, keep at the back of the mind about the levels of iron. Yeah? And maybe in dysmenorrhea, if their iron levels are low and the GP prescribes an iron supplement, that is sufficient to make them overcome their painful periods. Now, amenorrhea could be due to various causes. One of the easier causes is their diet. Yeah, if their BMI is very low, then that could be the reason for it. Or if their exercising physical activity is way too much, you could have amenorrhea. Or it could be hormonal problem. You could also have amenorrhea after prolonged pill usage. Another condition menstrual problem that you would see is metorrhagia, that is bleeding between periods. You could have mid-cycle ovulatory bleeding, or it could also have, could be a trigger like physical exercise. If a person, I've had a case where a person walks like for 5 minutes and that would bring on a period. Usually in these cases, also look at if there is any thyroid involvement, whether there is hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, usually hypothyroidism, if there is something happening with the thyroid. Other than this, you could also have leukorrhea, discharge of mucus. Discharge of mucus is common during the ovulation at around that time, but if it is over, like if the patient has got leukorrhea throughout the intermenstrual period, then it needs to be considered. Also the smell, if there is a odor or if it is greenish or yellowish, you need to take into consideration. And also differentiate between leukorrhea and candida. Now, in all these menstrual problems, like I've been stressing, a thorough case taking is important. And diet and physical activity needs to be considered. And your questioning should reflect those areas. Usually in homeopathy, when you give a medicine, it takes one cycle before you can see the effect. According to Morrison, it's frequently observed that the aggravation comes at the time of the following menstrual cycle. Now, pregnancy. Now, pregnancy is not a disease state. It's something natural. Okay, and any of the physical changes of pregnancy is dependent on hereditary and also their stress that they are facing. Now, treatment in such cases, in any treatment during pregnancy should be in consultation with the specialist physician. Okay, please remember that we are not the primary caregivers, and any support that is given to a pregnant mother should be aimed to support the best health and outcome for the mother and the child. And any risk to the mother and the child should be considered before implementing any treatment. Luckily for us, being homeopaths, homeopathy has got a low risk, which makes it particularly attractive to be used during pregnancy. Now, bleeding during pregnancy may indicate a miscarriage or an ectotopic pregnancy, particularly if it's accompanied by menstrual pain. You need to consider which month of the pregnancy the bleeding is occurring at, or the miscarriage is, because in our repertories we have special rubrics for miscarriage at the first month, at the third month, at the fifth month, at the seventh month. So we can narrow down the remedies that we need to give them. Now, any bleeding, even before you give, make sure that the person is medically assessed urgently. Now, bleeding can also occur due to varicose veins in the vagina. It can also be due to infections, injury, cervical erosion, or, which is a big problem, is the low-lying placenta. In such cases, Morrison recommends one single dose of a 200 C or 1 M. Moving on to menopause. Now, perimenopause is the time of the earliest symptoms of hormonal changes until menstruation has ceased. Now, usually the cessation of menses starts anywhere between 45 to 55 years. Now, if you have these symptoms before 40 years, then it's called as premature menopause. And this may be caused by autoimmune disorders or endocrine disorders, or it could also be due to nutritional deficiencies, or it could be if the person is, has got chronic stress in their lives. Another reason why they may have premature menopause may be due to iatrogenic reasons. Maybe surgical removal, or they are undergoing radiation or chemotherapy, or they are on some kind of drugs which suppress menstruation. Now, menopausal symptoms can be managed very well with individualized homeopathic prescriptions. Now, what are the menopausal symptoms that you would see? First thing the main thing that you would see is the changes in the menstrual cycle. The cycle may become longer, shorter, or irregular. The bleeding again might become heavier or lighter, and there can also be flooding. Yeah, unpredictable flooding. And the other common symptoms that we hear of is the hot flushes, night sweats. Accompanying all this, you would also see inelasticity of the skin. You could also see dryness of the skin, vaginal dryness, which would lead to discomfort during sexual intercourse or reduced libido. You could also have the fall in estrogen can also result in aches and pains. They could also have headaches or the crawling sensation under the skin, what's called as formication. And mentally, this could also result in forgetfulness, tiredness. And another thing that you need to be very careful about in women, going through menopause or after menopause is, conditions like osteoporosis. Yeah, and some of the other long-term risk factors of menopause is, also cancer, uterine cancer and breast cancer. Now, it's very important to keep up the pap smears. Okay, watch the diet, get into regular exercise, watch the blood pressure. Although you might have been healthy, on menopause, you might find all this creeping in. Cholesterol, levels of cholesterol can also go up, once you've stopped menstruating. So make sure that you maintain a good cardiovascular health. Now, correction of estrogen dominance by consuming phytoestrogens is one of the things that you can help with if you're a naturopath. According to Phelps, black cohosh or Simicifuga racemosa is by far the most effective and tested herbal product. Not homeopathic, but the herbal product for this. Vitis acnes castus may also help in perimenopausal symptoms such as irregular menses and mastalgia. And this is something that you find commonly in pharmacies nowadays. Now, what are the rubrics that you would consider for or look under in the repertory? The other word you might, in the modern repertories, you will see the word menopause. But if you don't see menopause, look for the word climacteric period. Female climacteric period. And that would be the other term for menopause. Now, going on to the potency, selection and prognosis in any of these conditions. So based on the clarity of symptoms, extent of suppression, it could be due to the use of contraceptives and sensitivity of the patient. So the potency selection is based on all of this. The medicine chosen should be based on the most characteristic symptoms of the prevailing state. That is your similimum. And the best time to administer the medicine is soon after the menses. And if no change or results are seen, give an antisoric medicine. If the medicine is given immediately prior to menses, effect may be seen only at the next cycle. So you need to wait for 2 cycles before assessing the results. And that brings us to the end of session 12.